WTF really happened to Mama Cass Elliot? Sadly, she was only 32. Largely thanks to the crystalline contralto voice of Mama Cass Elliot, the American vocal quartet the Mamas and the Papas enjoyed huge success during the mid-1960s. Elliot was the most popular member of this group probably because of her down-to-earth persona, which included her frequent references to her struggles with being overweight. Cass Elliot was born Ellen Naomi Cohen. She grew up in the 1940s and 1950s in a Jewish-American, middle-class home. Her parents were in the restaurant business and had a strong affinity for music. Her father Philip was an opera buff, her mother Beth a piano player. Attracted to music from her earliest years, Ellen found favorite singers in Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Garland, and Blossom Dearie. She took piano lessons in grade school and later learned to play the guitar because of her growing interest in folk music. Comfortable performing, she sang in her high school choir and acted in high school theater productions. By the time she was 17, Ellen Naomi Cohen had chosen a stage name, Cassandra Elliot. Nicknamed Cass by her father for the prophetess Cassandra of Greek mythology, she included Elliot in honor of a friend who had died in a car accident. Cass Elliot dropped out of Baltimore's Forest Park High School shortly before graduation and never received her diploma. Instead, she moved to New York City to embark on a stage career. In Manhattan, she landed a few off-Broadway parts as well as a role in the touring company of The Music Man. Elliot also paid her rent by directing at Ellen Stewart's CAF La Mama. During her first years in New York, she became involved in the richly creative folk music scene of that era. Her marriage in 1963 to James R. Hendricks resulted in her singing along with Hendricks and Tim Rose in the Big Three, a short-lived but pivotal folk group. The Big Three recorded 2 albums for the FM label, The Big Three and Live at the Recording Studio, but neither achieved hit status. By summer 1964, the Big Three had evolved into a new group called the Mugwumps. Besides Elliot and Hendricks, the Mugwumps included 2 Canadian-born musicians, Dennis Doherty and Zalman Yanovsky. The Mugwumps, who went electric, had an original sound and received decent reviews, but there was little response from the public. An album tape they made for Warner Brothers. Records would not be released until Elliot and Doherty had both become superstars as members of another group. By 1964, Cass Elliot's musical talents had been spotted by a number of musicians, including John Phillips. 6 years older than Elliot, South Carolina-born Phillips had a recording career that dated back to 1960. As a member of the folk trio The Journeymen, he had recorded 3 albums for Capitol Records. In 1964, John and his wife Michelle Phillips moved to the Virgin Islands and along with ex-Mugwump Denny Doherty were in the process of forming a new vocal group. Cass Elliot joined the trio in the islands, where for 5 months Elliot and her new musical partners worked to perfect the sound of their ensemble. Financially down and out but artistically inspired, the group received free accommodations in exchange for singing at a local nightclub. Confident of their future, Elliot and the others flew to Los Angeles to try to launch their new group with a record deal. They were soon discovered by Lou Adler, a dynamic producer who had just formed the Dunhill Records label and was searching for fresh faces and new talent. He was impressed by the group's distinctive personality and sound, which was a seductive blend of Elliot's soaring contralto, Michelle Phillips' soprano, and Denny Doherty's tenor, along with the tenor voice and strong guitar work of John Phillips, who effectively led the group. Convinced that they had created a unique sound and had a future, Adler offered to both record the quartet and serve as their manager. He also gave his approval to the group's catchy name, the Mamas and the Papas. The March 1966 Dunhill release of a song co-written by John and Michelle Phillips, California Dreamin', caught the mood of generational change of the mid-1960s. With its faintly melancholy evocation of an earthly utopia within reach, California Dreamin' shot to number 4 on the charts and sold more than 1 million copies. It also did well in the United Kingdom, reaching number 23 on the British charts. Monday Monday was released 2 months later, and it too soared on the charts, becoming number 1 in the United States and achieving number 3 in the United Kingdom. By 1967, the Mamas and the Papas had become a musical sensation, one of America's most popular folk pop groups. Cass Elliot, with a soaring voice that some critics have described as being simply stupendous, made a major contribution to the popular success of the Mamas and the Papas. Although she was called Mama for her warm, brassy personality and her physical amplitude, she always strongly disliked this label, describing it as a stigma. In an October 1968 Rolling Stone interview, she emphasized her attempts to stop people from calling her Mama for all my folksinging life. With the appearance of the Mamas and the Papas, the name Mama Cass became even more strongly linked with Elliot despite her continuing distaste for it. With the birth of her daughter Owen Vanessa in March 1967, she would find it virtually impossible to prevent people from calling her Mama. Elliot struggled with obesity throughout her life. Overweight since her earliest years, the 55 brunette at times weighed as much as 300 pounds. She attempted a number of crash diets, once claiming to have lost 120 pounds. But her attempts to be slim like Michelle Phillips always failed and quite possibly impacted negatively on her general state of health. She asserted that her weight had been, if anything, an advantage in her career, setting her apart from the others. In addition to health concerns as a result of her obesity, Elliot abused drugs and alcohol, which may have contributed to her occasionally erratic behavior. In October 1967, she was arrested after docking in Southampton, charged with stealing blankets and keys from a hotel on an earlier visit to London. After she spent a night in jail, the charges were dropped, but the ruckus caused a series of Mamas and Papas concerts scheduled for the Royal Albert Hall to be cancelled. By this time, there were rumors of the group's imminent breakup. Largely because of the collapse of John and Michelle Phillips' marriage, the Mamas and the Papas officially disbanded as a group in July 1968. Cass Elliot immediately embarked on an ambitious solo career, signing a $40,000 a week contract to perform in Las Vegas' Caesars Palace starting in October 1968. After the first night, her act was cancelled, and Cass checked into a hospital for 8 weeks. Following her release, the star announced that she had given up her dependency on both drugs and alcohol. Billing herself as Mama Cass, Elliot now became the most successful solo performer of the individual members of the former Mamas and Papas, each of whom was now concentrating on a solo singing career. Elliot would keep busy the next several years making albums and singles as well as working a live performance schedule by appearing in nightclubs. In 1971, she married a German baron, Donald von Weidenmann, but the marriage soon resulted in an annulment. Cass Elliot died suddenly in London on July 29, 1974. Early news stories reported that she had choked to death while eating a sandwich. This apocryphal tale of the star's demise quickly became a word-of-mouth legend, often embellished into the myth that she had died on stage, choking on a ham sandwich. The official coroner's report put these rumors to rest, finding the cause of death to be a massive heart attack due to obesity and stress. Although she had died abroad, Elliot's ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean. Leaving behind a rich musical legacy, Cass Elliot had shared a voice with countless fans that became a part of her nation's cultural history. Goodbye Mama Cass. Thank you so much for watching.